I think I haven't done Zoom for a while, but I think we are live. So this is,
I think so.
I think this is it. This is good. Well, welcome Saturday morning, getting back to zero. So glad everyone's here, including myself. My name is Jeff, and I'm your host for the next hour. Had a great evening last night. My son is getting married today, so we had the rehearsal dinner last night. And after this show, we're going to go sign the papers to refinance the house, and then I'm going to give plasma, because I think you get like $48 for every pint you can. So they're just going to see what I can pump out there. No, it was a fantastic evening, and looking for a fun day. But I'll tell you what, I've got a guest on this morning that I have been. When I heard her story and I read her blog a little bit, I'm going to have, which I'm going to post on the page. I said, I've got to get Lindy on the show. We have a lot in common. She has 5 kids. I have 4. Her blog, it's one of those, you hear a lot of stories in recovery. People go, oh, that's my story. Oh, they're talking about, she's talking about me. He's talking about me. But Lindy has got a bunch, and it's just one of the greatest gifts in sobriety or recovery for me was when I realized I wasn't alone, that I wasn't the only one that was having crazy thoughts, doing stupid things, all the other stuff. And Lindy is one of those stories. So I'm just going to bring Lindy in right away. She doesn't like StreamYard. How you doing, Lindy?
Good. How are you?
I am so glad you're here. Welcome Saturday morning.
Thank you.
And you
I
are
am too.
up in cheese country.
I am. Yes, in central Wisconsin.
And you're a huge Packers fan.
We are. We are. We were very disappointed last week. Not a good performance.
That was a tough one. So before you get into your story, Lindy, keys to sobriety is being a key for me is being honest with you, and even more importantly, honest with ourselves. So let's start out and let's cut the crap. You have a ton of books behind you. I'm guessing 12% of them have been read by you. So let's go ahead. What's the number?
No, you're absolutely correct. I buy books and then they sit on my shelf, and I read a lot of books, but the majority of these are not read. I actually probably read more of the children's books.
I was going to say the children's books are the ones
that's probably more like 90%. Yeah.
The only thing, and I'm not gonna, I come from an AA background, but this show, or whatever you want to call it, this is just about sobriety support. The only plan I'm going to suggest is the one that works for you. But it's recovery does take work, and I've got right here the copy of the big book, the AA big book, and people that I bought it and nothing's happening. It's like, well, did you open it and read? And I'm not saying that the big book, I'm just saying anything. You got to do whatever the book is that you have. And I put it under my pillow and I slept. And when I woke up, I still wanted out. I still wanted a beer. So, fortunately and unfortunately both, but this recovery, whichever path you go, does take some work. But I am so thrilled you're here, and I've got a ton of questions, but how can a mother of 5 just care so little about her children and do this to herself? No, I'm just giving you grief, but what's your story? Give us a little background.
A little background. I had a very normal childhood. I didn't, I don't really have any trauma from childhood or anything. But from a very early age, I always tried to make myself smaller to fit in, give everybody else space to be who they are. And then I would just try to, join them to fit in. As I got older and I started to have the opportunity to spread my own wings, I realized I didn't know how to. So the thought of it was very scary. I didn't know how to make decisions because I didn't want to let anybody down. Alcohol was a way of helping me have the confidence to do anything, to help me do anything. So anyway.
Let me ask you a question. And you're, forgive me for saying this, you're a pretty person. You're attractive.
Thank you.
How can, no, but I just go back to high school. How can you not have all the confidence in the world? I mean, you obviously have the physical. Why? How can you not feel that
I think
the world centers around me?
I think that
I couldn't stand people like you, by the way. Just so you know.
Yeah. I had a great childhood, but there were high expectations.
Okay.
So I think what it boiled down to was I just constantly felt like I wasn't quite reaching where I needed to be. So
hold on, my wife is stealing my truck, just so you know. Thank you, dear. Put gas in it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Hey, I was just going to say, I'm constantly at threat level midnight here with 5 kids. Somebody's going to run in without pants on. I just know it. But anyway.
Yeah. So welcome to life.
Right. So yeah, I think that, and there were high expectations. And sometimes I met them and sometimes I didn't. And I have one sibling. And
were those self-imposed, or did you put so external? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it was my parents, wonderful people. But I think, my dad and I both have anxiety, and I think he was just always so fearful that, what if they mess up? What if this? What if that? And so it was almost like this anxiety driven, like you gotta be on the straight and narrow. You gotta, so I felt like I was under a microscope, and I grew up in a really tiny town. So my graduating class was 43 students. So everybody knew everybody. There were no secrets. You couldn't hide anything. So I just, and the sad thing is, my school was a K-12 school because we were such a tiny town. My dad was a teacher. My mom worked at the school. And whenever I did even the tiniest thing wrong, the teachers would go to my dad before they'd even talk to me. And so it wasn't always just his expectations. It was everybody. It was like they went over me and didn't think it was important to talk with me about it. And so then it was just like immediate discipline, and so I actually think that that's part of where, like, my hiding thing, the shame of things and hiding maybe stemmed from, was because I constantly felt like I was being watched. And I felt like I was friends with everyone and I got along with everyone, but I never felt like I never felt like I was genuinely loved or cared for by friends. It was just that I kind of floated, you know what I mean?
Are you reading my notes behind my back or something? Telling my damn story. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
The expectations, when I hear you talk about expectations, to me are just huge opportunities for failure.
Yes.
That's where, if I achieve an expectation, then I just came up to, okay, fine. But all I have is all this area below that is going to be highlight. If I meet the expectation, okay, great. Well, that's what we expected from you. No big deal. But
right.
if you fail at all, what the hell is your problem?
Right.
You are a complete failure. I don't know, that's expectations, or whether it's on ourselves or by other people.
Right. And I think I don't know if you found this, but because I was so concerned about the expectations of other people, then I started to set my own expectations higher. And I failed all the time. And I don't know if other people viewed it as me failing, but that's what I was internalizing and building up inside. So,
when did you start drinking? I mean, because I can feel even at a young age, those emotions obviously start showing up. But, you know, I know there are people that do start drinking, but at 8th grade, I don't even think I knew what, you know, that wasn't an option. So.
Right. No, I actually didn't. I think my first encounter with alcohol was maybe when I was 19, but it was only like 1 or 2 times. It didn't become I really didn't start drinking until I was 21. I may have had 1 or 2, you know, on the random occasion, but I didn't start my career of drinking until I was 21. And then I hit the ground running and often tripped because I was so drunk. But it just yeah. So
You have 5 incredible kids. Sounds like incredible family. How do you, because I had the luxury of a wife that, you know, still with, she's unbelievable, but she took care of the kids. I didn't have to be the responsible one, and I didn't show any signs of being able to be the responsible one. So it probably worked out in my favor. But as a mom of 5, how do you pull that off? I mean,
gosh, you know, this is gonna sound big. Well, so I think I've never had a healthy relationship with alcohol, but I think when my actual problem started was when motherhood hit. And I think partially because that's when I realized that that I had anxiety, and it wasn't just that I was a worrier. You know, so I gave up teaching to be a stay-at-home mom, which I will never regret that. But I think what happened was I found myself again putting everything that I wanted and hoped for, aside from my children, of course, because of course I wanted them, but all my dreams and goals were put on hold for a very long time. And I started to drinking and escaping from my reality of snotty noses and diapers. It became my excitement. And so I would wait till it was an acceptable time, but sometimes that looked like, because for a while I did in-home daycare, and sometimes that looked like as soon as those kids were picked up, I'd get out the vodka, and that would be like at 3:30, you know, if I knew that I didn't have to go anywhere that night. And intentionally vodka, because you can't really smell that, you know, it's easier hidden. And I thought at the time that it just made me a more fun mom. I really did, because it loosened me up. I don't know what they would think. I don't know if they remember all of that from when they were young. I mean, Maddie's 16 now, so I'm not sure. But yeah, in the mornings, I think about, there were so many mornings I would just be laying on the couch, and you know, I'd do the bare minimal. Like I'd take care of them, and then it would be let's snuggle, let's watch cartoons type thing. So they maybe, you know, early on at least, I don't know if they really realized what was going on, you know.
I love what you're saying here, because we were having this discussion. I was talking with my wife. God, it might have even been yesterday, but my drinking problems weren't visual at the time. I wasn't a fall down drunk. I was damn good at it. My drinking problems were what it was doing to me internally, but also the hiding, the lying. That's what my wife and kids didn't see me fall down, walk in the door and trip and fall, sitting there slurring, you know, that kind of a drunk. But they saw me isolate, they saw me hide. There was a lot of lying, but it's I guess my point is that the problems you were having with drinking weren't while you were drinking, it was in the morning. And that's interesting to hear you say that, because hey, I was drinking vodka all day, but we were at the game. I sewed the cheerleading outfit. I threw the ball in the backyard with my son, and then we had, and so there's no problem. Well, here, the problem you just said was in the morning.
Yeah, it was in the morning. I was not very productive for many years, and but I didn't realize, I mean, that would go on for, well, I'm going to be 41. That probably started when I was like 25, 26, that it was like that. So it went on for quite a while. And it just very gradually, and I went through a couple seasons of, obviously I have 4 biological children, so pregnancy and everything like that, I went through seasons of not drinking, but and that was tough. But I went through seasons where I was like, oh, I should probably take a break, but I always went back. And the thought of stopping completely was like, no way, not even a possibility, not on my radar. So it's funny looking back, I can see the gradual, just how it was getting worse and worse and worse. So it would become like at night, and I can't remember if I've mentioned this to you before or not, or if it was just with some other sober friends, but my husband would have his bottle of whiskey, and I would have my bottle of Fireball, and he would say, like, and this is more recent, this is like just a couple of years ago, he'd be like, I think we should go to bed. I think this should be it, no more. And I would say, okay, I'll be up soon. But then I would drink more. And then to make it look like I didn't drink more, I would pour some of his whiskey into my Fireball, so it looked like it was more even. And by that time, when I was doing that, I was also vomiting. Like I would get, I just so sick and be completely just done the next day, not able to do much of anything. And thankfully, those really, really bad nights and mornings were usually on the weekends. So Rob could help, my husband could help with things, but that was when the real shame started kicking in, because I think when that shame kicks in, that's really just, it's kind of when the knowing kicks in. The shame happens because you know that this gig has got to be up soon. This is not right. This is not how life is supposed to be. So yeah, I think that when that hiding happened, and I did stupid things just like the next person. I can remember in college, driving drunk with the windows down and going, like, setting the cruise at 25 so I didn't get pulled over on my way home from the bar. And I think, so when I say I didn't hit a rock bottom, it's by the grace of God, because I've definitely done enough stupid stuff that I just got lucky.
Linda, do you think, with the kids, and I know there's a lot of parents watching, but it's almost the biggest negative is that damn TV or the computer or whatever, because instead I could check out of my duties by letting Dora the Explorer parent for me for an hour or two. And I wonder, instead of me spending time coloring with a book, or playing with whatever, I'm not only checking out myself, I'm cheating my kids from, they're not developing, they're learning to cope with life by turning on a TV. And
Right.
is turning on a TV to cope with boredom, to cope with any, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
boredom is probably the biggie, but to cope with
Right.
anything, I go to something else instead of creatively dealing with it. Am I teaching them, hey, there's another great coping mechanism you're going to find when you hit about 18?
Right.
And so
Mm-hmm.
there, that the TV, I don't know. I wonder sometimes. That's interesting.
Well, and yeah, it definitely is, because it's a constant battle in this house. And um and especially because you're right, it's the go-to when either I've had enough, or I mean, even now being sober, uh it can be that way. And then when you try to take it away, it's not pretty. But um I have really tried this past year to be a lot more intentional about, let's talk about what our choices are. What can we do instead? But it's been a challenge, and it's because for so long, I mean, if we're going to be frank, brutally honest, it was like the babysitter.
Yep.
It was. And I could take care of their basic needs, but
we're going off into a whole nother tangent of life, but anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if alcoholism, maybe more with women, is a newer thing, and anxiety is a newer. Now, I was crippled with anxiety, and we can touch on that a little bit, but let's go back into the 50s, the 40s, when our parents were raised. They didn't have the TV to watch that kind of stuff, so their mind is better at not relying on external somethings to they were better prepared. They didn't have the anxiety. You just didn't hear about panic attacks unless I mean, I'm not an expert on it except my own, but maybe they did exist and they just weren't written about. I mean, now it's everywhere. But even when I had my first back in, I don't know, it was about 1990. There was hardly any books on it. I mean, you couldn't find any information. Now it's everywhere. But I just wonder if we are, as a culture, we're crippling our kids as far as taking away their skills or the development of skills to handle this kind of stuff. And then where did I turn? How did I the only coping mechanism I ever knew that worked came in 12-pack cases.
Yeah, I agree. And I've definitely had panic attacks. My most recent one, I haven't had one since January, I think it was. But I mean, I thought for sure I was dying, and I've had anxiety. I've had anxiety for, diagnosed in my early 20s, but I'm sure I've always had it. But so it kind of it took me by complete surprise. I had been sober already. Well, my 1-year anniversary is September 28th. So I had been sober for a little while at that point, and it just hit me out of nowhere. And I think that's what really just sucks with anxiety, is you don't know when it's going to rear its ugly head. And when the panic attacks were more frequent, I felt like I was constantly living in a state of, like, I don't know what's the word, like alert, almost, just like, is it going to happen? Is it going to, so it just, and that obviously fuels the drinking even more, because that's the only thing that I knew at the time to calm me down enough to not think about it constantly,
Well, I felt much more comfortable that it wasn't going to happen if I had 6 beers in me. I could go out and not have that constant what if is it going to happen? Oh, I'm starting to feel one. Is that it? No, maybe not. And which perpetuated it even more. But we're going to do this event. Well, if I have 6 beers in me, my insurance, I'm much more confident I'm not going to have a panic attack. So let's do that so we can deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I did that all the time. Pre-drinks, just to make sure that I had enough in me, before we went out or didn't. And we didn't, and that's another thing about my drinking. We're very much homebodies. We don't go out much at all. And so 99% of my drinking was done at home, which means my children were also at home, so as they've gotten older, I have been very open with, especially with Maddie and Brady, because they're my two teenagers. I've been very open with them because the summer before I got sober, that was a lot of drunk mom. I can remember going into my daughter's room one night and she was like, I don't know, she was watching Netflix or something. And it was late. And her room has wood floors. And I just laid on the floor and I'm like, I'm gonna sleep in here tonight. And she's like, no, you're not. And she's trying to get me to go out. And I was so drunk. And thank God I finally listened to her and I went out, because I went on the couch and I just puked everywhere. And like, these are things that it hurts my heart now to think about.
Oh yeah.
Them seeing that. And I should say, I probably should have mentioned this before, alcoholism does run in my family. It's not, neither of my parents drank, but it's because it ran in the family that they chose not to. And so I felt like I had that added shame of, why did I even start? I know that this is a problem, So I've made it my mission to be as open and honest with my kids as possible, because I feel like society tells you, like, this is what you do to have a good time. This is what you do when you get old enough. This is what you get to do. And I don't want that for them. And I know that I can't control what they choose, but I can at least be completely honest with them about what it did to my life and how much better my life is now that I don't have that, now that I've given that up.
How much awareness did Maddie and Brady have of your drinking, and did they approach you during those times about it?
No, they never did. They never approached me about it. But I know that. I know that they were.
How about since?
Aware.
Do they say now that you're opening discussions? Yeah, Mom, I remember when.
Yes, they do, and we'll talk about it, and they'll say, well, we just kind of thought it was funny. Well, they thought it was funny because they didn't see the puking, the everything after, they just saw me being silly. But so that's why I've been honest in telling them, yeah, but that's not all there is to it. There's, all the after effects of it too. And I also remember, and this is something I haven't actually brought up with them, but I would be curious to ask them, because they're at the age now where they want to go do stuff with their friends, but they can't drive. Well, Maddie will have her license tomorrow, praise the Lord, but they couldn't drive themselves. So I was constantly the one saying, well, I can bring you if you can have another person bring you home.
Oh God, that's so me. I always volunteered for the start trip.
Yeah, you're right. And so it was happening all the time. And I think they were constantly like, oh, I'll see if somebody can. I don't know if they put two and two together though. That's something I should ask them about that, because now I'm like, heck yeah, I'll pick you up at 10:30, like just sign me up for that. So that feels really good. And I bet if I ask them, they'll say that they recognized that and they see that now.
It's funny, last night after the rehearsal dinner, everyone went out, the kids all went out downtown to the bars, and which is, and I'm thrilled that they're all Ubering. But here it was 11 o'clock and I'm driving my youngest son and his girlfriend and a couple of their friends down, and I'm driving around and there's cops everywhere. And I thought I was so glad that I was there to be doing the driving for him, present, and not
Right.
scared to death that one of these
Yeah.
cops, I was going to do
Pull you
something.
over. Yeah.
And I
Right.
guarantee for the drive back, the first thing I would have done is found a, you know, a 7-Eleven or a, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just that's freedom
Oh my
of the
goodness.
gifts. But get back to
Yes.
your thing. So when did, and it sounds like your husband is maybe like my wife. She, you know, he drinks, but he doesn't have the problem that I did, or you
He,
know.
actually we drink a lot together. We did. I don't think that he I don't think that he would be considered having a problem. However, I will say that um, he's completely stopped too with me. Not right away. I think like February he maybe stopped, and
Even
that
going out
has
with his buddies, will he still then, or is he's completely?
he's completely stopped. Yeah,
Wow.
he's and he because he does like he's kind of a, like I said, we're both kind of homebodies. We don't really go we don't really go out, and if we do, we're going somewhere together. But yeah, and I have to say it has made a world of a difference in our marriage. Just because when we were both drinking, it's like you avoid conflict, then you get drunk and you open up the can of worms that you've been keeping in for like 3 months because of something silly, like a silly little argument, and then it gets blown up, and that's not who we are, but that's what alcohol was doing. So it has just given me the freedom to be who I really am, and to not feel like I can't be, to not, because I've oftentimes felt like I can't just take up the space or say what I want to say. Um, but now I don't feel that way as much. And so communication between my husband and I has been wonderful. We have I have walked through probably one of the harder things of my adult life this spring, um, that I it was really hard to sit and feel the feelings and the sadness, and I won't get into it too much because it's his story to share, but it's about my dad and getting older, and you know as you
Could
get
you
older.
could you have dealt with it while drinking?
No, no, I don't even know. I mean, I very much need to be a present daughter for him and my mom to be able to help. And no, I don't think so. And the hard it was just really hard because I'm an empath. I feel everything like 1,000 times harder and heavier. And so I mean, I had to sit with some really tough, sad emotions, and I hate that. I really don't like that, but I made it through, and he's doing really great. And I get well, and so he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. He was always a coach and an athlete, and it was just a really hard. He's doing great, but I think just the thought of knowing your parents are getting older,
Oh
it's
yeah.
hard, and so anyway, being sober and dealing with that has been such a blessing. And it also gave me the opportunity to share a little bit of my story with my dad, because I was afraid to. But then he was like, we have to be open and honest about everything. And I was like, well, while we're at it, I am sober now. And like, I was always afraid to talk to him about that because of, the family history. I didn't want to hurt anybody by admitting that, hey, guess what? I have a problem with it too, you know? Um, but so it was a tough time, but I wouldn't have had the capability to, number one, deal with it the way I needed to deal with it. And also be there for my children, because my parents they moved, so they live really close to us. And they're super, super close with my kids. And so I had to put on a brave face for my children. And I would not have been able to do that if I were still drinking. I had just been a sloppy mess about all of it. But so
What was
you got to go.
what was the evening, the day that you finally quit?
Mm-hmm.
What was the why? What was the reason?
So it was a Sunday night Packers game. We were on the deck watching with the neighbors. I saw that they were drinking, so I was like, oh, I'll drink. But I was the only one that got drunk. I woke up that Monday morning, and it had been a summer of feeling shame because of all the times I drank too much and didn't feel good the next morning. And I just had enough. And there were a couple of times that I had talked to my husband, and I was like, I think I need to take a break. I think I need to take a break. But this time felt different. And the very next day, I read Laura's book, We Are the Luckiest. And then I joined TLC, and I will say, I think what made the difference was making connections.
Why?
Making connections because I didn't feel alone, and because I felt like I could be completely honest about what my life looked like, because my people here where I live, since I've come out with my sobriety on the blog, I 99% of the people that know me had no clue. So it wasn't something that I could be. I still had so much shame around it. And in the beginning of sobriety, it's not easy. It's hard, and you got to push through, but you can't push through it alone. You really, really need to find your people and find your community, because they're the only ones that are going to understand what you're going through, and help you through it.
Small towns are tough to find those people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They are. And that's, I know.
Or let me rephrase this before you give the answer here, Lindy.
Yeah.
Small towns are tough to find their people. Plus, I don't want everyone to know that I'm a fall down, lousy mom drunk.
Yeah.
So right. How do I find my community and still maintain whatever pride,
my own dignity,
my own whatever I have
right.
left. So how do I do that?
That's one reason why COVID was good for me, because I was able to join on the Zoom communities and be in the comfort of my own home and not out there with all these strangers who have become like family. And it gave me a chance, quite frankly, to get my shit together and heal and grow and forgive myself before I put it out there to my friends and made it, and so I will say, so I started with TLC. I'm still a part of it. Life is busy, so I don't get on as many meetings as I'd like to, but by chance I was on a meeting. It was actually an AA meeting, and led by a fellow TLC friend. And there were a lot of crossover. There were a lot of TLC people in that meeting. And I met my sponsor there. She reached out to me, and so then I started AA. And I will tell anybody, that was scary to me. That was really scary, because I felt like that was finally admitting that this is a bigger problem than I want to admit. But TLC got me sober, that community, that connection. But AA keeps me sober. It's the structure and the 12 steps and the understanding that just because you do the 12 steps and you finish them, you're not done. This is a lifetime of work. And I love that I have those 12 steps to fall back on. I love that I have a community of people that just has my back. So when I have a tough day, when I would have normally had a drink, now I have all these people who love me and who I love that I can turn to. And, it's just been invaluable to me. I would not be where I am today if I hadn't joined AA.
See,
and got Go ahead.
TLC, the Luckiest Club, those communities are mandatory for me, but I'm also I need, and I'm not here to promote AA. You just find what works for you, but I needed that structure. My wife thinks of instructions as that's just packing. That's the only reason. That's just packing that goes with whatever item that, you don't actually read it. I need the instructions. I've got to know, okay, well, how do I start? What do I do this moment? Oh, okay. Well, now what do I do? I didn't. So I need both.
Yeah.
For Jeff, not you. Jeff needs both. So that's what, and we're fortunate because there's so much. There are programs, opportunities, self-help, group help. If you want this, you just got to explore because it's there.
Yeah, definitely.
So just going down, I'm going to go to your blog, which was so incredible. It's and I'll put it up. I'll just put the whole thing as well as a link, but it's fantastic. But a couple lines in it that I just want to, you had talked about some of these we've already done. So I was talking about the acceptable time to drink, but let's talk about anxiety because I was crippled with panic attacks. We had just gotten married. We were pregnant with our first real job. Life suddenly, all these things that I wasn't prepared for. If I can fault anything of my parents, and I had the greatest, I love, we lost mom, but unbelievable parents. Their only flaw with raising me is that they loved me too much. And I think they prepared the road for me. I've said this before, but they prepared the road for me versus preparing me for the road.
Oh, yeah.
And now suddenly I'm in Cincinnati versus California. I'm going along and there's a bunch of freaking potholes everywhere that mom and dad always paved over for me. And I'm now I don't know how to go. So that was the only anxiety destroyed me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only thing I knew, the only comfort food I knew was the only medicine that I even tried. I did everything in the book. The only thing that worked and worked well was beer.
Yeah.
And on that day that I had my panic attack, alcohol went from strictly fun. It still had fun component, but it became medicinal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And I feel like in my childhood, because even though there were high expectations, I look back on my childhood and I feel nothing but happiness because it was very loving, very, my parents are amazing. And I think it was a good mix of them helping me along, but also, making me help myself along as well. So I don't really know all that much where my anxiety stems from, but I just know, if I look back, I think I've had it for a very, very long time. Like, I really think even as a little girl, I had it. But it just didn't, it just kicked into high gear with children. And I think because for me, it's like well, with anxiety, it's a control thing too. Like you want to be able to control, you want to know what's going to happen. When you said that you're a directions, you follow the directions. I am too. I need to know how to do it and what's going to happen, and when I can't, when I don't know, that is when the vicious cycle keeps going in the head. Like, and what if, and then the anxiety kicks into high gear. So yes, when I started, when I became a mom, that's when the anxiety kicked into high gear, and that's when the drinking did. It all goes hand in hand. So,
but being a mom was probably a dream.
yeah.
You realize that dream. What
Why?
people maybe that don't get it, how the hell
Yeah.
can you have anxiety when you got your dream?
I don't know. I and that's the hardest thing. So, and I mentioned to you earlier that I'm working on writing my memoir. And I don't know if anything will ever come from it, but I'm not writing it to get famous. I'm writing it for me because it's therapeutic, and I'm writing it for my children and my family. And I just finished the chapter that is dedicated basically to my children. And the big thing I want them to understand is that they are the greatest thing that has happened to me. The drinking and the anxiety and all of that, I mean, I survived. I kept going because of them, because I love them deeply. They are not. So they are not the reason that I struggled. It was me. It was my anxiety. It was my choices. I did struggle with resentment being home and watching, my husband and everybody else with their careers. That was a tough decision for me. But again, that doesn't fall on my children. That falls on me internalizing things. So I adore them. I just found, with anxiety, you kind of feel like you have, I think my therapist once called it like a monkey mind, like just jumping all over. And it's chaotic. And with with 5 children, our house is loud and it's chaotic. So a lot of times with my anxiety, the chaos on the outside becomes the storm on the inside. And like I have a hard enough time calming my own storm. So that's really where it was, just the constant having to be on my toes, having to make decisions, having to quiet this down, it just became too much for me to handle. And so the only way I knew how to handle it was to quiet it all with alcohol. And is that fair to my kids? No, it's not. There's no part of that, that I wish that I hadn't turned to that.
How do you quiet it now?
Now,
and my reason I'm just saying this, because sobriety or drunkenness, whatever you want to say, before or after, drinking days, non-drinking days, life doesn't change.
No, gosh, no.
I mean, it's not that the problems don't go away. All that you're taking away is the alcohol. So the problems are still there. Yeah,
the problems don't go away. And in fact, they're even more evident because I'm clear-headed all the time. So I would say the first thing is I decided early on that I was just going to be as completely open and honest with my husband as possible. And I just, I told him, this is what I need. This is what I need to do. So this space I'm in here is just kind of like a bonus room in our house. It's got a view of our Granite Peak Rib Mountain ski hill. You can see the ski lights at night.
Oh gosh, life is so tough, isn't it?
Right. I know. So, but these are things that I didn't pay attention to, so now this is my safe haven, my quiet space. This is where I do my writing. This is where I read. This is where I do my meetings. And he has stepped up more as a dad. He's always been present, but he's much more involved now because I have, instead of trying to do it all and feel like I have to do it all because I'm a stay-at-home mom, I'm more open and honest. I'll say, you know what, I need to get on this meeting. I have to right now. I need to put in the AirPods. So it has required a little bit of selfishness on my part, but a healthy amount of it, because for so long, like I said, I just put myself on the back burner. Well, I'm not on the back burner anymore, because if I don't take care of me, I cannot, if I don't fill my own bucket, I cannot pour out to the people I love the most, and so I'm learning to do that. I'm learning to do the things that fill me up, that bring me peace, that keep me sober, and that filters out to my people.
I still am a very good dad, don't get me wrong, but I was a great dad in that I did everything with the kids. I did all their sports. I coached anything. I was always in the yard playing with them. My son who got married, we were just talking about my drinking in the garage, and he said he loved when I drank in the garage as a kid because we were always doing projects.
Yeah.
And I would be, while drinking in the garage, doing, we call it soft toss with little Nerf balls to practice batting skills in the nets. I would do all this. It pisses me off so much when I wonder, or I think that how much of that did I do to justify my drinking? Because oh no, I'm okay. No, what are you talking about? You're not even paying attention to your kid. Yeah, I'm drinking a case of beer, but I'm playing ball with them, so I'm justified.
Right. Yeah, yeah, that is definitely the case. And like I said earlier, I always felt like I was more fun for them. Like I thought, well, they're getting a more fun mom. Well, no, they're getting an idiot for a mom. Yeah.
You have a bunch of things in your blog. I'm going to read a few of them, and I want you to just expound on them.
Okay.
I am not more boring now that I'm alcohol free.
Yeah, no, I may have been more goofy when I was drunk, but I feel like life has become much more of an adventure for me. I'm doing things that really bring me joy. I'm taking risks, and I mean good risks, but following things that one of the things, this is going to sound silly, but I've been home for 14 and a half years with my kids. I used to be a teacher, and there's this little shop in Wausau called The Local that this wonderful woman started, and it's, she has all these local makers who they sell their stuff there. I love it there. I buy stuff there all the time. Well, I just recently applied for a very part-time job, and I got it, and I started working there, and it's such a simple little thing. I would have never done this before because I wasn't reliable. I wouldn't be like, but what if I want to drink that night? I don't want to get up early and go into work. Well, now I'm doing that, and I love it. So and to some people that might sound like really not a joyful thing, getting a job, a part-time job, but it fills my bucket. It's exciting to me. I love it. And I never would have done that before. So it's the little things, also, since I've given up alcohol, I take care of me more. I have more energy. I've lost weight. So I can do things like family walks at night. And I'm not more boring because I'm learning to find the joy in the simple things that I was missing before.
You do not need to be an alcoholic to decide alcohol isn't serving you well.
Yeah. And I was a functioning alcoholic. So I don't want to, there was a time
define you as a functioning alcoholic.
Functioning alcoholic would be,
and what's wrong with that then? Why is that a problem if you're obviously getting it done?
Yeah, because I was getting it done like a zombie. I mean, I was a shell of a person. Functioning alcoholic for me meant drinking in the evenings and at night, never going out or doing anything, like not being out partying, still being at home, and being able to get stuff done the next day, maybe feeling like crap the whole time, but being able to get stuff done. And that to me was a functioning alcoholic. But there was a long time where I didn't want to admit, like I wanted, and there was a long time where I was a gray area drinker. I don't think it turned into alcoholism until like the last couple of years, before I got sober. And of course the pandemic really kicked it into high gear. So yeah, that I had to give it up, because even though I was functioning, I was not thriving. I was just surviving. And that's not, number one, that's not how I want to live my life. I was sick of it. And number two, I really only have so much more time left with my children being home. And I really want to set a good example for them on thriving through life, not just doing what you need to do to get by and to survive.
You have on here, I had no idea that life could be so good in the absence of alcohol. What was, before you, on what life is now without alcohol, what was your preconceived idea of what life without alcohol would be? Because you said at the beginning of this, well, I'll stop for 30 days. There was always a, don't say the word never.
Right.
No, I'm not saying never. I'm just saying, God forbid, don't do that. I'm just going to give up ice cream for February because there's only 28 days, but
right.
March 1st, it's go time. What was your preconceived of life without alcohol versus what's the result?
I thought I would be boring. I thought that I would always want it when I was around people that had it. And I felt like I thought that I would always feel disappointed and sad and bummed out. And I'd be like I always forget the name, but it's on Friends. It's the sober friend that comes back, and he used to be like, oh, Fun Bobby. I think it's Fun Bobby. He used to be Fun Bobby. And then he gets sober and they're all disappointed because he's not fun anymore. And, they portray this like sad, mopey person. And that is how I felt. I also kind of thought that I was afraid that I would lose friends, that's what we did. Like we had fun together that way. I could not have been more wrong. And I realized that's not the case for everybody, but the friends that I have in my life, in real life here, not in the Zoom world, have been nothing but supportive. In fact, they're already planning some celebration stuff with me for my 1-year sobriety anniversary, which just means the world to me.
When will that be? September what?
28th.
Well, we're gonna have to.
So that's coming up. I'm super pumped. I'm super.
We might have to have you make a guest appearance around. That time again.
I would love to. And I even, and being a mom, I've already talked to my kids. I'm like, you guys, we are celebrating, like bigger than a birthday. We are celebrating. We are going to there's this bakery here called Sweet Lola's that has the most amazing cupcakes. I'm like, I want those. We are going to get balloons. We're going to celebrate. And because this is a big thing to celebrate, I want them to see the joy in this journey. Because Lord knows go ahead.
How do you celebrate without alcohol?
Oh my gosh. I don't even want it. And I'll say, so because part of the journey that we never even got into is I have a history of disordered eating as well. I've gone through anorexia. I've gone through obesity. It's been messy, but, because you still want that treat, that celebration of some sort. But now that I don't have the alcohol, I actually allow myself to enjoy the cupcake or the ice cream or something like that. And it feels, but also just, there is nothing more valuable to me anymore than being present in the moment and soaking it all in and creating the memory and being able to remember it. Which I read something, and I don't know who it was that said this, but about how, isn't it strange how in all the big moments in our lives, when we celebrate, alcohol is there. And then you don't remember those, everything becomes foggy. Well, it's not foggy anymore. And so we are going to celebrate by, hopefully the weather's nice. We are going to play outside. We have a beautiful yard here. We're in a beautiful neighborhood. We have chickens and it's just, we're going to celebrate outside. We're going to do what we love, and we are going to have cake and ice cream. And yeah, I don't know. I think I might even have my friend come over who does photography and take family pictures on that day. So we haven't had, since Lucas has been home from China, we haven't had really good family pictures taken yet. So
I want to see I want to see those smiles.
Yeah, I definitely will.
I mean, you talk about reels about, people, because I'm a lousy fake smiler for pictures.
Yeah.
I really want to see what those smiles look like, because not just you, but your family, because I bet those are the most genuine smiles they'll have taken.
Yeah. I have amazing kids, resilient kids.
We're at the top of the hour, but for people that are watching, and this is, you have no idea how amazing you are.
Thank you.
What a gift. But I got to ask you this. You talked about the preconceived notions about sobriety.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just before I ask this question, give me the top 5 reasons why sobriety was going to suck.
Boredom. People wouldn't like me as I was without that. Feeling left out. Feeling like I was always wanting and never being able to have. And losing friendships.
Then answer me this: why the hell should I get sober? If that's what it's in my mind.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, and those are, well, I'll put it on you. Then why the hell did you get sober if that's what you thought sobriety was going to be? Why would you give all that up? If that's what you thought you were going to get in return, why did you get sober? Why should people get sober if that's the
right? I don't think I would have gotten there when I did if I hadn't read Laura's book to see an example of somebody who is sober. And I think that's the big key, is if you think you have a problem, get your nose in the books, or listen to the podcast, or join a group, because it is the people that have walked this journey and are living proof that life is better in the absence of alcohol that helped me get to this point. And that's also why because a couple people asked why I shared it on my blog. It is because we have been given this gift, this second chance. And I think it's absolutely important, just like you having this show and Back to Zero, to help others. Early sobriety is tough, and those preconceived notions ended up not being true. They ended up not being true at all. I wouldn't have known that prior to starting if I hadn't found the connections, if I hadn't read that book, if I hadn't found these people who've walked the path before me. And I think my sponsor has said before, you find the people that have what you want and you follow them. You let them lead you to this much more fulfilling life. You can't do it alone. You can't do it alone. And so that is why I made the choice, even though I was scared. And yeah, in the beginning, it didn't feel good. It didn't feel good at all. But those people and those connections helped me push through and get to where I am now. So,
Lindy, thanks so much. Hang on there.
Okay.
But I'm gonna go. I've got to get my hair done, or my hairs. I saw pictures last night at the rehearsal dinner, and it was like just so sad. It's like just shave it, Jeff, and put it out of its misery. You can only rub conditioner into the hairs individually so many times, trying to breathe life back into them. They talk about acceptance and sobriety. I think it's time.
Embrace it.
You could lie and say, "Oh no, Jeff, you have a thick."
I see hair. It's
hairs plural.
Okay, sorry.
Anyways, so I'm gonna have a great fun day today. My son's wedding, and I won't be drunk. and I won't be drunk after, and I'll remember it. And I can't wait. It's going to be freedom. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. Simply
you.
amazing. On the websites and blogs or pages, we will have links to this. Lindy's little blog is a short read, but it's unbelievable. And don't you dare stop on your memoirs, because we haven't even, I want to hear you. Well, we got to have you back, because you said in the thing that you wrote letters to yourself, and that's a whole topic for itself, the importance of that. And I wish we had another half hour, because I really have so many more questions for you. But anyways, thanks so much. And we'll be back Tuesday evening with another panel discussion, and we'll talk to you soon. Stay safe, everyone.